So let's now talk about the different religious scriptures in the context of the cosmic timeline. This is a good representation. On the left side, you can see on the top, we talk about the Vedic knowledge around 50,000 BCE, which is primarily oral. And then we also said about 5,000 years back is when, Bhagavatam was written down by Vyasadeva. So that's why it's showing Srimad Bhagavatam around 3000 BCE. And then the other religious scriptures are shown here. And we will talk about that also. And on the bottom, you see the years. And on the left side, you see all the religious mentioned. So anyway, so let's start looking about on the religious scriptures from a cosmic timeline perspective. So this timeline reveals one of the most significant patterns in human intellectual history. When we place major religious and philosophical texts in a chronological context and try to analyze that. And when we do the analysis, we see that Bhagavatam kind of stands alone, not just in age, but in terms of the scope and the sophistication of its knowledge content. This isn't about religious superiority, which I've talked in my previous recording many times. It's about recognizing the unique knowledge preservation event in human history. So that's the event when from oral to written Bhagavatam 5,000 years back. So you'll see on the far left, we see the Vedic traditions now, which 50,000 years back. So, like I said before, for a long time it was passed on orally, until 5,000 years ago, Bhagavatam was written. So, what makes it significant is that Bhagavatam, wasn't just preserving stories or beliefs, right? It was preserving actually detailed scientific knowledge, mathematical principles, and observational data that had been accumulated over 45,000 years before. The fragmentation you see on the left explains many challenges in modern intellectual life. We have brilliant specialists in physics who know little about consciousness, and consciousness researchers who ignore the cosmic context and the religious traditions that avoid scientific inquiry. And you will see that across all religions. The Bhagavatam's integrated approach addresses all these domains simultaneously. For example, when Bhagavatam describes atomic theory, it doesn't just provide mechanical descriptions. It explains how consciousness interacts with matter, right? How atomic behavior relates to cosmic principles, and how understanding atoms contribute to both technological advancement and spiritual development. So let's look at some of these areas a little bit more closer. Again, as I said before, in future episodes, we will, you know, dive deeper into these areas. Cosmological and physical integrations, right? So Bhagavatam describes detailed atomic theory, um, multiple universe models. We talked about that in the first recording, and cosmic structure thousands of years before modern physics was born. But unlike modern physics, which treats these as separate phenomena, the Bhagavatam shows how atomic behavior, cosmic structure, and consciousness, are all expressions of the same, underlining, principles. The integration of cosmology and physics explains why even quantum physicists like Heisenberg and Schlesinger found Vedic texts so valuable. They provided the unified framework that specialized physics was missing. Again, they got a lot of their wisdom and inspiration from Vedic texts. Let's look at the integration of mathematics and computation. So again, mathematics and computation reveals another um, crucial advantage. The Bhagavatam doesn't just use mathematical concept like zero, decimal system, and infinity as individual numbers for computations. It explains their philosophical significance and practical applications. So, zero isn't just a number, it represents the void from which all manifestation emerges. Same way, infinity isn't just a mathematical concept which gets used on different calculations. It describes the unlimited nature of consciousness and cosmic potential. So, the philosophical grounding gives mathematical concepts deeper meaning and broader applicability than purely technical approach. Let's look at the biology integration and the biology and consciousness. Perhaps this is the most, I would say, significant. The Bhagavatam explains the integrated view of biology and consciousness studies in ways that modern times is only now beginning to attempt and understand this. So the text provides detailed embryological descriptions while explaining how consciousness enters and develops within biological forms. Um, so it describes the relationship between physical health and mental states, between individual consciousness and cosmic consciousness. Again, the integration addresses what modern physics calls the hard problem of consciousness, how subjective experience relates to objective physical processes. The Bhagavatam doesn't see that as a problem because it never separated them, consciousness, from matter in the first place. So, the knowledge preservation achievements, what we are seeing here is perhaps the most successful knowledge preservation project in human history, which is, again, the writing of Bhagavatam. While other traditions focused specific aspects of human experiences, the Bhagavatam preserved a complete knowledge system that remains relevant in the first place. Um, this explains why modern scientists continue to find insights in Vedic texts. They are not looking for religious inspirations. They are assessing a knowledge system that provides integration and context unavailable in specialized modern disciplines. So, knowledge, let's look at the knowledge degradation patterns. Notice a pattern that emerged as we move forward, and I'll go back to the previous slide. So you will see the pattern which emerges on the left side, right? So Buddhism and Jainism emerged around 600 BCE. They focus primarily on individual liberation and ethical conduct. Judaism, Torah, crystallizing around 500 BCE. They emphasized more on law and covenant. Christianity 30 CE, which centers on salvation and moral teachings. Islam, starting around 610 CE, focuses on submission and community, right? And then Sikhism, which emerged around 1469 CE, emphasize on devotion and social equality. So now, as I explain this, and with your knowledge of each of these scriptures, you could relate to different areas which these religious scriptures focuses on. So we can say that each tradition offers valuable insights, but notice how the scope we talked about becomes increasingly specialized. So the comprehensive integration of scientific, philosophical, and practical knowledge is what characterizes the Bhagavatam. And so on the other one, as you saw, that what Bhagavatam completely, coalesces everything is kind of looked at as separate domains in the different religious scriptures. The timeline demonstrates why Bhagavatam remains, uniquely valuable for addressing contemporary uh, today's world challenges, while other traditions offer important insights within their domains. Only Bhagavatam provides the comprehensive integrated approach needed for complex modern problems that span multiple disciplines. So, as we face these challenges, which are requiring the integration across science, technology, consciousness, and ethics, the ancient blueprint becomes increasingly relevant. Now, this last sentence I talked about, the integration across science, technology, consciousness, and ethics. Guess what challenge we're facing today? What we call it as challenges of artificial intelligence. But again, this is not new as the way it's explained in Bhagavatam.